God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
What woman is going to give you $8 grand?
Because you're my woman, you're doing OnlyFans, you're selling my product.
Your product?
Yes, correct.
She's not
Next question.
No. Product.
So the easiest way to tell if a girl's good or not is after the first time you sleep with her to see her involvement in the relationship post that day. I don't want to mess with or be around a woman who's not infatuated with me.
Sure.
Any woman who I'm going to be with, I'm going to be her at the center of her world.
God help us. God help us. Okay, remember these two men, James Talrico, Andrew Tate. They will be addressed very shortly. But before I do, let me first lay a foundation. The night was the cold night of April 14th, 1912. The largest, most luxurious ship ever to exist struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic. At first, many passengers didn't realize the danger. The ship seemed unsinkable. But below deck, icy seawater began rushing in. The crew soon realized they were in terrible danger. The Titanic was going down. As lifeboats were lowered into the freezing darkness, one universal truth guided the evacuation: women and children first. There were not enough seats for everyone. Every lifeboat spot was precious and numbered. Yet what happened next defined the event forever, when countless men stepped aside, surrendered their own chances of survival so that others may live. In that fateful moment, husbands kissed their wives goodbye. Fathers lifted their children into lifeboats, watched them disappear into the vapor of the night. Brothers, sons, fathers, they all remained on deck, fully aware of what this decision would cost them. And as that ship sank lower, witnesses remembered seeing extraordinary acts of courage. Men plunged themselves into a cold grave so that women and children could live. They faced death with a quiet dignity that inspired everyone around them. And as the Titanic disappeared beneath the sea, it took 1,500 lives. 80% of the people on board were men, and only 20% of those men survived. More than a century later, the lesson of the Titanic is no longer just about a shipwreck. It's about masculine virtue, sacrifice, and courage in an age of men who instinctively knew that their strength was not for themselves, but was for the protection of others. A few years ago, the Guttmacher Institute released a study on who gets abortions. It showed a staggering 80% of abortions that occur are from unmarried mothers, 68% of whom say that they would have chosen life if they had a man that loved and supported them. We think abortion is something disconnected from the tangled web of foundations, but it's not. It stems from something entirely more foundational than the convenience of a Saturday morning trip to Planned Parenthood and a series of damage control modes. My goal this morning is to show you three things, brothers and sisters. One, Christ is the foundation of America. Two, masculinity is the foundation for the family, and to show you that restoring manhood in the family is the key to ending abortion. Psalm 11 says this: if the foundations be destroyed, what can righteous men do? America now is in grave peril. It's in grave peril because we have an identity crisis on our hands. We don't know what man is. We don't know what a woman is. We don't know what family is. Heck, we don't even know what America is anymore. Civilizations are not built on individuals. Why? Because an individual can't make a baby. Men and women, shocker, men and women make babies. 2 men can't make a baby and 2 women can't make one either. But a family is like a house. Foundations uphold the structure upholds the roof, and if you don't get the right order set, the whole thing crumbles and falls. The structure that holds America together has always been and forever will be the family as the bedrock of this nation. And if you don't follow the blueprints of the designer, good luck keeping the house of this nation together. One thing is clear, unless we restore the family, we will never end abortion. Unless we restore America to its foundation. We can never restore the family until we restore the man. Our Lord says this through the mouth of the Apostle Paul, these words: I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ. The head of every woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. That is the blueprint. The Father, the Son, the man, the wife, the children. And there used to be a collective understanding in this nation when it came to these God-given dynamics. Men understood, yes, we have a unique place of authority, but such authority came from a few things: responsibility, sacrifice, and even, as we see in the Titanic, disposability. Yes, women understood with femininity came deference towards men, but through that deference, we recognized women have this unique place of privilege and honor. Women and children first. Then along came something pernicious called feminism. It used sexual liberation as the tool to pit man against women and women against man, and both of them against children. And rather than having love be the guiding principle that holds each distinct place in its proper order, love for one another was replaced for love oneself, and Christ was dethroned as the highest good of society, and in his place we erected a throne to self. And if we want to end abortion, the first thing we need to do is take ourselves off of the throne. So what is a man? A defining mark of true manhood is selflessness. Such selflessness is expressed in the commands that we protect, we provide, and we lead. Those dynamics I'm going to describe as disposability. We selflessly, as men, dispose ourselves every day for the good of those whom we are responsible for. But this disposability does not mean we innately are disposable. I don't want it to get it misconfused. We as men are valuable. We are not disposable. But the disposability of us men come not because we are disposable, but because women and children are not. We deem them valuable because we deem ourselves disposable. Their glory is that we protect them. Our glory is that they are protected. Their glory is that they are cherished. Our glory is that we cherish them. Their glory is that they are valuable. Our glory is that we dispose ourselves for their value. Yes, she brings herself under the submission of her head like we submit to Christ, but that's only because we die for her like Christ died for us. Now, the funny thing about what I describe these things, I tell men, it's your birthright to bleed and die for your love. And the heart of every man is firm like Leonidas. But the funny thing about this, imagine I told you women, it's your birthright to bleed and die. I doubt I would get the same response. And if you need any other proof that gender is a binary, I think that's it. Feminism is a peculiar thing. It first sought to castrate men of their masculinity, but all the men left, they've been told that their masculinity is evil. And what I see among American men right now is very troubling, because feminism has told women to hate men, and now men has returned them the favor. But if we have to understand, if feminism's goal is to pit women against men, we can never defeat it by pitting men against women. So I need to be very clearly, unless I be misunderstood here. A real man is disposable, not because he's trash, but because he loves his treasure. And the proof of this is that the most infinitely man to ever exist disposed himself, was incarnated, taken on our flesh, left his glory in heaven, and disposed himself by stripping himself naked on a cross and pouring himself out in disposability to death for those who he loves. And that was not for a second inferiority. That was glory. Because Christ is the archetype, a husband's glory is being like Christ in his sacrifice, and a wife's glory is to honor him in what he does. I think one of the reasons why we don't understand this is it's so hard to articulate. There's so many ways to go wrong, right? In order to define a man, what a man is, you have to define what a man isn't. But what do you call him? What do you call a male that's not a man? It wouldn't be accurate to call them boys, little boys, because boys are future men looking at their fathers, training to be like them. And wouldn't be called to call these feminized men little girls, because little girls are future women looking at their mamas, training just to be like them. The scripture calls them malakoi in Greek, effeminate, soft men. But when we call soft men effeminate, don't get that misunderstood, because calling soft men effeminate is not an attack on true femininity. Remember the video you watched. My heart bleeds for young men, because those are the two examples of masculinity that they have to look to. We either have cowards like James Talrico, or we have tyrants like Andrew Tate. See, cowards do nothing in the face of evil except to carry water for ideologies like feminism that destroy the family. But tyrants are different. Tyrants use their masculine strength to subvert such ideologies for their own sexual self-gratification. James Talrico and Andrew Tate are two sides of the same destructive coin. One destroys the uniqueness of womanhood altogether. The other uses women for their own sexual desires. James Talrico turns his son into a daughter. Andrew Tate turns his daughter into a prostitute. The men of the Titanic were not supposed to be an inspiration, but an indictment on our age. Men of old let themselves be drowned so children wouldn't suffer, but men today drown their children for their own pleasure. James Talrico is too selfish to give up, James Talrico is too afraid to give up his seat. Andrew Tate is too selfish to. But what we have to understand is that the true man is not a balance between James Talrico and Andrew Tate. It's another man entirely. The true definition of manhood is 2 words, and it goes like this: Jesus Christ. If the mark of a true man is that he uses his strength like Christ towards the responsibility and the authority that comes through self-sacrifice and self-denial, then the mark of a true woman is that she is not threatened by such strength because it is her shelter that she builds herself under. The shelter of the house that he builds is the structure of which she builds her home. Where does abortion come from? It comes from the opposite. Abortion culture in America is simply the fruit of a culture built on self without sexual restraint. It's from men who would see women as disposable rather than himself. It's from women that would rather submit herself to sexual degeneracy than the vulnerability and submission it takes to be treasure. And is it any surprise that the fruit of this sexual selfish union results in us treating children the way we treat one another? 1 million babies a year are tossed into the trash of medical waste buckets or flushed down the toilets of America sewers. That tells us very deeply something about who it is we serve. So, this is our last stand. What will the legacy of America be? Will we end abortion in America? We will, with God's help, but it will not be until we reclaim masculinity. When men strive to live like Christ and women his bride. When America sees that sex is for family, and family means a lifetime of love and self-denial, treating ourselves as disposable rather than one another. So, while we fight to see that day, may Christ be praised. May masculinity be restored. May love be multiplied, may children be protected, and may abortion be abolished to the glory of King Jesus as his bride reignites her calling.